Hi, Paul, and thank you so much for joining me today on these lovely sofas to tell your story. So I guess, can you tell me a bit about yourself? What do you do?
Yeah, well, I'm Paul. I've got a bespoke sort of joinery company. It's a niche market. It's traditional joinery, specialist windows, specialist doors. So it's quite a niche market. So there's not many people do it, and we cover sort of Edinburgh, the Lothians, Fife, the borders, and things like that. So it's just my own company. It's my own business. Self-employed. Work for myself, but I do have subcontractors that come and go, come for a couple of weeks on big jobs, go and do their own stuff, come back, that do help with the running of the business. Well, I say running of the business, but the backside, and obviously you can put them on jobs and go to another job or X, Y, and Z and whatnot. So I do that, but it's mainly just me. So obviously what you see is what
So
you
is
get.
it a one-man band?
It's a one-man band.
Wow, okay, so what
With a couple of other wee people through in there, but it's a
Yeah.
one-man band basically, and that's the way that I like it. I've had people on, I've had people off. You know what you're doing, you know who's doing it when, you know if there's any issues, it's me that's caused it. Timelines, things like that, so the buck stops
Right.
here as such.
So what made you start your own business then?
I think I had just outgrew where I was. I left school to progress with football. I went professional when I was 16, with a couple of clubs, and I done that till I was maybe about 21, maybe 2021, a wee while ago now. I got an injury and I just never really recovered. So that was obviously the goal, you know, the typical teenage boy football. Football was this, it was everything was football. 3-4 times a week training, you know, Saturday games, Sunday games. That was it. School sort of got pushed to the side. I had obviously been doing that since I was 12, 13. You know, we were training at night, obviously parents were taking me to training, you know, travelling. So there was no really any other goal as such. And then obviously got injured, sort of late 20s, 21. And my uncle was a joiner. So kind of when I was thinking of, you know, where do you go? Do you know, I've came out of school, no qualifications, came out of school, proceeded. The goal was, you're going to be a footballer. It's not just obviously going to have been me. A lot of people will have done the same thing. Came out of school thinking they're going to go and do something, and unfortunate circumstances obviously happen in sport and things like that. Wasn't to be. So, as I say, my uncle, as a joiner, he had his own company and whatnot, and money was coming into the frame, you know, early 20s, family starting, things like that, money. So he was like, do you know what, come for a couple of shifts. Started from there. And that was kind of me. Like I enjoyed it, I was hooked. I liked making stuff, you know, I liked doing certain things, learning how things happened, you know, like the process and the channel and things like that. And then obviously got qualified and worked with my uncle for another few years, and then that was me. You know, I was like, kind of certain things happened. My uncle kind of taking a step back a wee bit, so I think my hand was kind of forced a wee bit, and then obviously just gradually just went and just got progressed and got more confident and got things like that, and then actually just physically started my own company. So obviously was doing a bit of other subby work and things like that. I do wish that I had done it a lot sooner, and obviously then left school straight to sort of college, training, trades, whatever. But I'm a late bloomer, as you would say. So obviously I'm now coming in late 30s. Wish I had done it, you know, that 6-7 years earlier, and then maybe been in a slight more position. But I mean, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's the best feeling in the world is obviously having your own business. It's the best feeling, knowing that you're doing what somebody's asking you to do, and knowing that you're doing what is required of you. You've got that satisfaction of that Oh, I've actually done that. Do you know, like, it's a good
You,
feeling.
you
It's a
enjoy
good
what you do.
feeling. Yeah, you do.
I think you talked about you wish you could have done it, earlier, but it sounds like you, you love what you're doing, and
Well, I
there's
got
no
there.
chance
Obviously,
you,
got there
you
in the
got there
end.
in the end, but
Yep.
you enjoy it, and working in the construction industry as well, you find that there's a lot of subbies out there, kind of your one-man bands out there, and like yourself. That itself, obviously, there's lots of positives that you mentioned, but we're aware, as a charity, that there's a lot of negatives and kind of issues and challenges with that, especially around mental health.
Yep, definitely.
Have you had any experience where working alone has been challenging for you?
Well, obviously, working alone, if you're working with a company, you're working with other men or women even, obviously, in the trade, and there's that sort of camaraderie, that banter in the job and things like that. But when you are working alone, you do sometimes feel a bit isolated. Do you know, I could maybe go 2-3 weeks on my own at work. If it's an empty house, an empty property, an empty site, you start the job, the homeowner, the contractor, whatever, Paul, there's the keys. Do what you need to do, give me the keys when you're done. So you could go a full 2-3 weeks at work. Obviously, you're coming home with your family and things like that at nights, and you've got your weekends and stuff. But it's that can be sometimes plays on your mind a wee bit. I mean, obviously, everyone has the radio. You've got your headphones in and things like that. But it's just not the same as having physical communication, physical banter. Jokes and whatnot. Because obviously in the trade and we all bounce off each other. When you're on a job that's got different trades or different people in that, and you know them, and you have a bit carry on and a bit chit chat and a bit banter and things like that, it's the old cliche. It kind of makes your day go a bit quicker. But when you're obviously working alone or working on your own, there is that wee bit isolation where even just to have somebody like, oh, morning, how are you? How did you get up to last night? Did you watch this on the telly or things like that? Just a silly conversation with a general stranger can just make your day that feel a wee bit obviously more that you're with somebody rather than just being working alone in a room that's got a temporary light or something.
Exactly, and people thrive through connection. Even though you've got your job to do, as human beings, we all need connection, and we're here for connection. You mentioned earlier about you have a family as well. Are they your support system then? If you've not got obviously your day-to-day colleagues, what?
Yeah, well, obviously I've got older teenage daughters. Speaking to a customer is obviously different to speaking to your family. You're sort of you're presenting your professionalism, speaking to them, and obviously then when you speak to your family, you can just be you. But then sometimes when you have got a longer day, you do kind of miss touch with what's going on. But then sometimes I do feel maybe that's sometimes a wee bit nicer because then you've got, when you get through the door, oh, we've done this, we've done that, this has happened, or you've got that wee conversation that's there as well, which then makes your day kind of like, oh, well, I've no spoke to you all day, but it's nice that you can come down and sit down at the breakfast bar and you can obviously get thoughts and what's kind of went on, and because obviously with having your own business, your own company and things like that, and certainly the area that I do and I work in, if I'm taking out somebody's window in the morning, or if I'm taking out somebody's bespoke door in the morning, it needs to be done. So you are kind of on a pressure. Yeah, you are on a pressure. You're on a time scale. You're constantly, obviously, aware of your surroundings, on your time. And if the weather's playing havoc at 3 o'clock, you're thinking, oh God, I've got to get this window done. And then you're maybe having to reach out and say, look, I'm not going to be back in for another hour or 2 hours. I'm going to be late tonight. And then you feel guilty because then you're thinking, well, I'm missing time in the house because, if I was working in, say, an office job, you'd stamp your card at 5 o'clock and you would be on the train or the bus at 5:10 every day of the week because you can just pick up what you never done the next second day. But whereas we can't, we obviously in the trade, like you have that time scale. And it's not just going to be me that's like that. Like maybe I'm overthinking it with the type of line that I'm in, but there'll be people with schedules and everything. And that will play a major factor on people's mental health because the stress that will be involved in that will be incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I think you were touching on, you know, the part you play as part of the rest of the project. You know, you are needed. You need to get that window in, or else then you're putting a stop to everything else. And, you know, that obviously would affect, you know, it's pressurizing, you know, and, you know, would impact you as a person, your mental health. But on mental health, have you had any, you know, experiences with it where it's impacted you?
Yeah, well, obviously, on a day-to-day basis of running a business, regardless of anything, it does affect your mental well-being because you're switching off from everything to focus on that. So, first and foremost, everybody has got some sort of form of stress or whatever with what they're doing, timelines, materials, you know, in the trade. I mean, if you've not, sounds really maybe silly or maybe a bit strange saying this, but if you've not got those sort of stresses and thinking about the next project, thinking about that, thinking about this, you're not really, I wouldn't say you're not doing it right, but you're not caring as much. You know, you're just thinking, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow or I'll do it next week. That's not really a great business plan. And also, I've got a bit of a backside to the mental health. Like obviously, my wife's sort of diagnosed with certain issues, which then play a factor on my day-to-day issues. My wife's diagnosed with bipolar, insomnia. She's obviously got depression and anxiety as well. So that on a day-to-day basis, as well as obviously what we touched on, like having to, it feels really guilty saying this, but obviously having to deal with that at the same time as running a successful obviously business and a busy business. But then you've got that in the back of your mind, you know, you've got that, and then if you're going say 2, 3, 4, 5 hours not having contact, or even a day not having contact, you're thinking, is everything okay? And then if you try and get contact and you can't get an answer, then you've got that, you know, just the subconscious of your mind just starts to then wonder.
Oh,
so it's kind of like trying to balance and manage the whole situation, and to be obviously a dad and a husband at the same time, you know, and then have customers, businesses, bills to pay, things to organise, timescales. It's a lot, and that obviously does play on your mental health, and it will give. Listen, it's not just going to be me that's having this. It's not just going to be myself that's just saying, like, this is what happens, this is my family side's situation, because there will be, and I hope this maybe reaches somebody and like gives somebody like the courage and maybe the thought to speak about something, because there will be people that are in during the day that will not mention their home life. They'll not mention that they've got somebody close to them that's maybe suffering from something. They'll put on the brave face, they'll sweep it under the carpet as such, and that's a guy thing to. That's a guy cliche thing to do, but we've obviously found recently, speaking about it with me and my wife and whatnot, and actually having it out there, it does help. It has helped a lot with different situations. Obviously, there's that, like, I wouldn't say them. It's hard to describe, but I wouldn't say like the shame or the thing of having that, or the embarrassment of having things like that, but owning it, if you know what I mean. Like, this is what is, this is me, this is how we are, this is what we do, feels a lot better than just hiding it.
Absolutely. Do you mind if I understand a bit more, just so that, you know, others can learn as well from this? But, you know, thank you for sharing about, you know, because it's normal for you now, but you're talking about it. And, you know, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people that come into work, you know, and we talk about someone talking to others about their mental health, but we don't think about their personal life and the people that they can be supporting. So thank you so much for that, because you're absolutely right. There must be so many other people who are supporting, who are caring for others. But I want to understand, just so other people can learn from it, what does it, so in terms of for your wife, like, what does that look like for her?
So there's good days and bad days. So a good day is a good day. My wife can get up and achieve what's obviously planned for the day, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going to her PT sessions, whether it's going to work, whether it's going to the shops. Bad days will be like my wife will still be in her bed when I get in for work because she just can't face the day getting up. She'll try to get up, she'll do her washing, whatever, but it's like, I need to get back to bed. She's not going back to bed because she's totally lazy, tired, whatever. It's the anxiety that's ridden through her body, obviously, just like the days, the quicker she can get back to sleep to start a new day for tomorrow is obviously how it goes. I'm not saying obviously she just goes back into bed and doesn't do anything, but it's like, like for example, if you need to go and get messages or things like that, there's certain times I've obviously heard from her, she'll be in the car, can be in the car, perfectly fine. She'll phone me like, want anything in for tonight or whatever, and then I'll get a phone call maybe 30 seconds to a minute later. I just can't get in the car. I just drove around the supermarket car park and was away back home because she just can't face getting out of the car, being in public. If the car park's too busy, then the shop's going to be too busy. Just things like that. And it's obviously it goes back to touching on like I know how to deal with that now. Like obviously, if she'll phone me and upsetness and hysterics and things like that, I can obviously calm it back down and get the situation back because obviously it's part of her life now. It's her life, and I've read up on it. I've read books. I've researched how certain things, and because it's very, very common. It's a common thing that, as I say, loads of people have it. Loads of people will have it, and it's not a bad thing. It's about like being proud of and owning what you've got and dealing with it. And a case of dealing with it isn't just a case of like, for example, like, just going for a walk, everything's going to go away, your problems are going to disappear. It just that's because then the anxiety is not letting you physically go for the walk. And then, so that's obviously one part of the anxiety and the depression type of thing and things like that. The bipolar side of and the insomnia side is, you think of bipolar and you think like you've got a good side, you've got a bad side, you've got Jekyll and Hyde. It's completely not like that. It's certain sort of triggers that could just sort of like make a situation out of something that's not a situation. Like, for example, like these two glasses sitting here just in a slight off position, but that could turn into like a really major issue for my wife. Like, it could be like she couldn't sit over there in that chair, like over there, and leave the glasses. She'd need to get up and fix them, like have them right in the right position, things like that. It's a touchy OCD as well. But it's not like obviously, everything will be fine, and all of a sudden a switch, and she goes absolutely mental. It's not like that. Because obviously it's been learned through the years how to handle it, and obviously we can all handle it, and the kids know what's what, and like obviously, she needs to have her days, good days, bad days, days just chilling out, things like that.
And something that you did say that was really good for others to know is that it's not as simple as go for a walk.
No.
Because, she's got a diagnosed mental illness, and you're absolutely right. You can have a diagnosed mental illness and you actually can thrive a lot better than someone that has an undiagnosed mental health condition because you know how to treat it. Mm-hmm. You're getting the right support in place. When your wife was diagnosed, you don't mind me asking, please stop, but did that just come up in your relationship? Or was
she's always kind of had from childhood. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, obviously, but she didn't have a really good childhood growing up, and that kind of progressed into her sort of teens, into her late sort of teens, into her 20s and everything. And it just, and since obviously her late 20s into her early 30s, it's now, I think we've grew to it and grew up a wee bit, if you know what I mean. So she knows how to sort of deal with it as such more, and obviously we know as a couple and obviously as a family how to, hone in and things like that. Whereas maybe before in our early 20s and sort of in our mid 20s and things like that, I don't think it would be like what's going on, like want to just go out and go crazy or things like that, or go mental and things like that. It was definitely nothing like that, but just not knowing exactly what's going on, I think. but it's a lot of past sort of trauma and past things like that that's obviously progressed it all and things like that. But as I say, we're a maturity type thing. That's kind of where I was meaning, like a sort of maturity things obviously came on, and like we know how to get through this. And obviously, I'm not saying that like I'm perfect or anything. Like I have good days and bad days. I have bad days as well, and we know how to handle each other. I could be a really grumpy old man sometimes, but it's like coming and going. But I think that's maybe my side of my mental health a wee bit, like because this is always my grumpiness comes out at the weekend, because I think I've had a Monday to Friday where I've maybe dealt with, the work side, the home side, the family side, the kids side, the whole package, and you think maybe when maybe at the weekends when maybe the work side of it's maybe taken off, it's just like, and then you've got other stuff to sort of focus on, and you end up just.
It all comes out.
It does.
Yeah,
it does
it
a wee
all
bit.
comes
Yeah,
out.
it does.
Can I ask you, how did you're saying quite humbly, I'm not perfect, but how did you said you were reading things?
Mm-hmm.
What made you who you are today? That you've got a supportive family, you're supporting your wife, you're all together. What have you done? What else have you done to get yourself to the place that
well,
you're
obviously,
actually
I kind of after losing the sort of the sports side of my life, early 20s, I never went to the gym. I never really done any physical exercise. Obviously, my work was my physical exercise, and it was basically work, home, work, home. And then I've gradually now, as I've got older, found the balance. And then when we got to like the late 20s, sort of early 30s, and things like that, you kind of grow up a wee bit, and then obviously my wife's sort of things were getting to a stage where they were kind of getting a wee bit strong and a wee bit more in the forefront and things like that, behind the work scene and things like. I kind of just was like, there must be something that we can even if I can learn one thing that could help, and there's certain things, there's certain like routines or certain things that you can say, what not to say, what not to suggest, things like that. It sounds like, obviously I'm not putting everything down to the internet or whatever, it's not, but you kind of just look up and read on things. And that's helped me as well, just even for myself, like sometimes I could be in a situation, I could just maybe have a wee sort of 30 seconds thinking, like, actually I can kind of picture this, reading this somewhere or seeing it somewhere in a book, and it takes your situation away, and then you've got a couple of minutes and you're back, you're fine. But I just obviously with what was going on and the way it was sort of getting, it was kind of getting a wee bit in the forefront. The sort of the mental health side was coming in the forefront in the family, and I think we both sort of realised that, and we kind of took ownership of it a wee bit, I think, again, and then now it's I say under control. It's not something you can pick and choose when things happen, but definitely like making myself more aware of somebody's condition that, as much as I never ever had a clue of, I would admit myself, even when you hear like, bipolar, you think, well, you're good, bad. It's things like that.
So for you, awareness was quite key to making you feel a bit more confident in yourself.
Yeah,
that you can,
definitely.
like you said, you kind of said there, like I feel you and your wife are in a good place.
Well,
you
I
both
always find that, and I'll always remember that when my wife said that, like when she does have her attacks, her anxiety attacks, or like her sort of panicish attacks and whatnot, things like that. I always will remember the one time that it was a really bad day, and she said to me at night, like, how do you do that? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, like, she's really upset, she's emotional, she's absolutely exhausted because obviously it totally tires her out and things. And I'm like, what? Like, you're coming and going, you're trying to obviously, like, as it's progressing through the day, and you know that you just know if it's on a bad day, how it's going to progress and things. That's a part of me learning things like that. But she was like, how do you do it? I was like, what do you mean? Obviously, it's like you're like the only person that's ever been in my life that can calm me back down. And that's a really nice feeling, That's a really nice sort of a feeling of like how it should be. And because if I was going through the same, I know for 100% she would be right there beside me as well. Do you know, if I was having issues like what's been going on and things like that, or even now, if I do have bad days and good days, like, do you know, you're there as a couple, you work through it as a couple, and obviously she does say certain things that I think, do you know, like, what you saying that for? And then 5-10 minutes later, you feel like, actually, that's right. Do you know, you're fine. You feel a bit better. But that always does stick and sticks to obviously my heart, is like that one thing that I can help. And it's obviously then the same with obviously my work situation. Like, you get that good feeling that you've helped somebody make use of a door that's no a door, or a window that's no a window, and things like that. So, but it's always there and always sticks in the back of your mind at that one. And then when things are having a sort of poor day or whatever, then I always remember that, and it's like I know that I can not fix this, but, you know, I know that we can, you know, in maybe an hour's time, an hour and a half's time,
There's something you can do.
It's fine, you know, it's going to be, there's always something there that I can do.
Do you have any useful kind of other charities or work or links that you've used to help you with understanding mental illness that you can remember? Do you have any?
The NHS help website thing was my go-to right at the start when we first started getting. I used to go and just sit at night, lying in bed, on my phone, brightness turned down low, so at least maybe she could sleep and whatnot, and I'm just sitting there just reading different things, and obviously then you just come down, you go into Google, you just search something else, and then something else pops up. So there is a lot of different places. Each one does have some sort of different way, but then sort of having read all the different ways, you kind of get your own sort of way to kind of deal with things or think about it. And I've obviously remembered the things, like, just they're now in my brain. Exactly. So it's like you don't need to obviously go and constantly sit, like, it sounds bad, like just hold on for half an hour till I go and quickly Google this and we see what's going on with you or whatever. So it's helped. It has helped me that along the way. And as I say, it's not just going to be me that's sitting there that's got, by looks of it, a perfect business plan, a perfect business. So the house and home life is going to be the same. Do you know, a lot of people I'll hide their home life from their work life.
And you're juggling. You've got a lot of things, don't you? You know, you've got your home life, you've got your own business, which is a lot different than being employed by someone else, because it's all up to you. So, you know, with obviously supporting your wife as well, how do you, when you do have your bad days, do you mind sharing what does that look like for you when you have a bad day?
Well, I would definitely say on a bad day, that obviously if my wife's having a bad day, the production level in myself does go down. Whether it's maybe not getting as much done as I would on a normal day, or maybe the motivation's there a wee bit because you're thinking about what's going on, and you're thinking, is that okay? Is everything okay back in the house? You're maybe not going to go and do certain things. You're thinking, well, actually, I should really have went to that person to do that, or that person to go and see that, but then you're maybe changing it so you can maybe go home to see what's happening, and your brain's constantly going thinking, well, no, I need to get that done, but then I can't then nip to the shop and get a roll or something, because that's another 20 minutes on the day, and I've got that to catch up for yesterday, and so it's a constant juggling act.
So if you were to meet a duplicate of yourself who's got the same personal history, background, situation as you, you know, especially if they're dealing with something right now, what would you say to them?
There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always things you can do. There's always, I mean, speaking to a stranger is the best. I always find speaking to a stranger is better than speaking to somebody you've knew for 10 years.
Agree.
Because you just have it's a no qualm. You're not making stuff up. You're not thinking, I can't tell him that, or I can't tell him that, because then they'll tell that person that and everything. That's, I would say, not change who you are, but to always believe, because there has been times that I've thought there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Do you know that this isn't going to get better? This is only going to get worse. Do you know there's been certain days that you've not been wanting to get out of bed in the morning. You're thinking, I can't do another day like how it was yesterday. But then there is, as I say, there is light. There is light. And then if you speak to like a lot of people that I know, they'll always be like, like you can chat you can chat to anyone, you can chat for Scotland, you can talk rubbish to anybody about anything. And then you remember the conversations more than what you remember the conversation if you have with your mates or your friends or your family. You remember like a conversation with a stranger. I can remember what I spoke to somebody last week about that I've never knew. I was loading windows into the house and we just had a general chit chat and they're talking about whiskey. It's like things, just, and then you'll remember that, and I can remember the chap's face and everything. Whereas when I was talking to a couple of mates last week and I can't remember, didn't have a clue what we were talking about, But I would say there's always try and be positive, try to always take a negative, turn it to positive. There's an old cliche type saying, but it does work. And I would probably say like open up. That it's not a shame thing to open up and own what you've got, because you've not got anything wrong with you. You're just built differently. Everyone's a human. There's no two humans the same. So everyone's got different things. Everyone's got different issues. And
with someone like yourselves that is supporting someone, and when you're supporting someone, some people can sometimes shut their own, emotions off, which sounds like what you said earlier. But eventually, what you said is in the weekend it comes out. So
it does, yeah.
Do you mind sharing? So when you do you shut them out until the kind of weekend? But what happens over the weekend? I think you said you get a bit.
It's just more. I think you build up through the week of the stress of running a business, which is a very difficult thing. I think through the week my fuse is long, but I think more at the weekend. Then when I get in, I get settled. I'm not in work and stuff. I'm chilled out. I'm just in flip flops or shorts and kicking about in the house and whatnot. I think sometimes it kind of all does come out, because it could be something simple as my daughter not taking her plate to the kitchen after having her dinner or whatever. Just simple things like that. But it doesn't. I don't do anything. It just, you just feel it sort of. You just feel a wee bubble, and they're like, like you've been out all week, and things like that, and different things, and.
But you feel it.
You feel it. You just feel that, and I think that's just because you've been dealing with other stuff so much through the week and things like that, and so I would say that is a sign of mental health in the trade, because it's not just the cliche of it's mental health in the trade when it's like 9 till 5. It's a 24/7, 365 days.
Absolutely, and if you, as kind of a sole trader as well, what you don't have as a sole trader is when you're normally part of a larger organisation, you get these benefits such as having access to counselling support and support lines, and that's not something that obviously as you're working for yourself, you don't have access to those kind of benefits. So, what would you like, from how? Obviously, your other support system seems to be, you got your family. What if someone didn't have their family and were working from home? Where would they turn to? Just from your experiences working, speaking to other sole traders.
It's the cliche again. To sweep it under the carpet. Guys, just get on with it. But having said that, I was one of them. I was just get on with it. Just get on with it. This is what's happened. This is what's going on. This is it. But the more, obviously, you maybe do speak about it, or you do speak to your mates. You say things. Oh, this happened yesterday. This is what happened yesterday. Things like that. And just they might not even have an answer back to you. They might just be there, just listening. But you just seem like you get that sort of weight off your shoulders, which then does help to have another good week. So I would just say, just talk to anybody, and if somebody doesn't want to listen, then talk to somebody else. Just as I do like the conversation with a stranger. Just go and just talk to anybody walking in the street. Obviously, you're not going to open up about your full things,
of
but
course.
I found, even though I was in down the dumps a wee bit, dealing with whatever I was dealing with, and even just saying good morning, or or how's it going, or do you know, how's your day, just to anybody walking past, because just when you're in the town, you're unloading your van, you're unloading your job, or even you're just passing, you're just going to the street and everything. And that's obviously has helped me, because then I can talk to anybody about anything for ages. If I would give that advice to somebody else, then that has helped me, because it's made me feel like a more confident person. It's obviously built up the confidence and built up the sort of family rapport that we've got, so I can take all that on, and that's my way of like.
Can I ask? But obviously you've just got a lot, that, you know, in your life, and
This is
you know,
obviously this is what I can talk and I can talk and I can
honestly,
talk.
to do, you know, to run your own business. You know, you've got three daughters, and you know, and to support your wife as well. But you're doing that in unison. So, do you still feel you can support someone else with all of that going on? Because one of the challenges that people face with reaching out is because they've maybe got something else they're dealing with. So, are you still open to helping someone
knowing
else?
what I went through, I certainly would. I've even done it myself. I've had a couple of old ex-work colleagues and whatnot and different things, and they've came with different situations, and when you've mentioned to them about your stuff, they've obviously felt like they want to maybe, I wouldn't say return the favour, but you know, they're open to knowing, I can maybe go and speak to Paul and maybe mention this or whatever. And I've had conversations even recently where I'm not going to name names or anything, but do you know, if I have had, and I feel that's maybe quite a good thing, that I've been in their shoes, and even saying it'll get, do you know, don't worry, things will get better, things happen for a reason, you can do this, do that and everything. That's just the easiest thing to say. So and just hearing that from somebody might give you that wee boost. But I feel that obviously I would never turn anyone away. Definitely wouldn't, even if I'm having a real downer of a day. Even if there's things going on in the home life and there's things going on at work and everything like that, if somebody does come, I'll get a message or I get a phone call or something or whatever, I still would take the time to, even if I just answer and I can I call you back in 5 minutes or something, then they'll know that you're going to call them back, that you're there for them. And there's so many times that I've been driving home from the job in the van, and you know, like, I've just been on the phone to one person for the whole time. Just a general chat can make somebody's mood, even makes my mood and whatnot. Do you know, you come off the phone and you think, oh, do you know, that was quite a good 40-minute journey, do you know, chatting about general garbage, but that then, they've obviously phoned you for a reason because they're wanting that wee chat, and just having the sort of guy-to-guy chat helps, because obviously guys will be, I think there'll be like, obviously guys, I'll either be in a big group of guys or there'll be a wee close-knit group of guys, like a wee friends group and things like that. So I just like having, I'm just a people person.
You enjoy doing it,
I know.
and you know, I think, you know, what I'm trying to kind of get here is it's not that what you're trying to say is to kind of pay it forward thing, you know,
exactly,
it's kind of like if you help someone else, you hope that someone gets you back, but it's not that you're saying I'm doing it because I want to get my help, but it's you know, in terms of helping other people, that's just naturally who you are. You know, helping someone else does naturally make you feel good, because also you are contributing to society. And if you look at the meaning of what mental health is, you know, it's your contribution. You know, it's not just for yourself, but your contribution to society, the impact you're making in your work life. But it's that. So there is a benefit to supporting other people, and you know what you've achieved with your wife, you know, and your family, to be able to get to that place that you all know what to do. You know, and what you've achieved there by giving all in is that she loves and knows that you're there, and you seem to be the only person that cares for her, and that's return that you got from that, you know. So what you're saying is actually everyone should do it, because, you know, if it can all help someone else, you know, less and less people will feel alone in that, right?
No, definitely, because obviously I feel that the struggles that we've had in the home life has made me say who I am, how the business runs, probably gave me the confidence as well to do the business, to do what I'm doing, obviously with the social media, with the different areas and the speaking to customers and things like that. and obviously, if when you do see me on social medias and on Instagram and things like that, you might not think that all that's going on in the background, because, as I say, people will not own it. People will not own up to it, and you'll never know what somebody's. You'll never ever know what's going on behind somebody's closed door unless you're actually in the sort of circle as such. But then, I feel that us as a family, I've kind of pulled that together, and obviously we've put that in our different ways, and obviously my wife's working, what things like that, when she obviously manages, and then obviously my work and my business, and the kids are picking up on it as well, and they know about it. They know about the sort of mental health situations and things, which is good for them as early teenagers to know about it, because obviously this could go on forever, but I feel like it's not taught to them. It's not at all. So they're and obviously the younger generation that's coming through, there's much more pressures and things like that than what there was when obviously, you know, I was growing up at that age. It's scary, do you know? It's
that you know it's that what you just said there. It's if you don't know what it is, you know, how are you going to get help? And you know, I think if you knew what the signs were, if you knew what the symptoms were, you can get help sooner, and hopefully get things addressed sooner. But it's that awareness that's so important to people, and that's why it's important to do our research, you know, to reputable, you know, organisations. So it gets you to a place that you feel, actually, I may not be a GP or a doctor here, and I know they're there, but I feel I have this knowledge to support my partner and my family. And that's what everyone should be doing, because they're not alone. But if you learn about it, then you feel more confident in it. So I guess, is there anything that you wanted to say to people in terms of, you know, for me, we talk about people that, you know, we're telling people to talk, speak up, reach out to someone, go to someone on the street to talk to someone. But I think the message I want to articulate to the public about those that are helping others, because it does, we're all human. You know, we're trying to run everything, but at one point, you know, we may have a day where it's just suddenly collapsed and something, you know, I can't cope with it. What advice would you give? I know you've said it earlier, but just one-liner that you would tell someone to keep it up, keep it going. What would you say to that individual to continue doing that support?
Don't be ashamed of anything. Like, I wouldn't be ashamed to admit anything, whether it's the worst thing ever or it's a really, really good, proud moment. You know, that you need to share stuff. Everybody does need to share stuff. And even I've learned from locking everything away, it's not the answer. Just, as I say, like, even just us sitting here waffling is feels good. And then I've obviously spoke to you about my situation, which then 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, you never had a clue. And that's...
And we've just met.
Do you know, that's obviously made me then feel that wee bit better. It's probably obviously made my wife feel that wee bit better, because there's somebody else knows of a situation which will be common across the country. There'll be tradesmen which will go to their work. They'll not speak about their home life. They'll not even tell their colleagues what they had for dinner, because they're proud of being a rowdy guy, you know, like a guy that's obviously in the trade doing a physical job. But then they'll go home, they'll have all those issues, and then they'll put it under the carpet, and the next day morning they'll go and they'll forget about it again. And it'll gradually just build and build and build, and then that's when you obviously have the situations of the implodes and then stop turning up to work and things like that. But then just speak about anything, just speaking about having a conversation about clothes or football or anything, because then that conversation starter can then proceed to then have a wee fork in the road, which could then go into like a mental health conversation, which then there you go, you've achieved what you wanted to achieve, and you've got somebody that's having a wee bit of issues behind the scene, and you could be relating to them because you're having the same issues behind the scenes, and then you can talk about it, you can have a game plan, you can touch and meet each other, every couple of weeks or things like that. But I would definitely just say, like, don't be ashamed of what you've got, and don't, obviously everyone puts on a brave front, but like obviously, like, do you know, peel it back, everyone's got things going on, certain situations, you know, but just be proud of your situation, and obviously then just speak about it, like,
Exactly.
that's what I would, well, that's what I've just done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm going to finish off by saying, you know, as someone supporting, others, you know, be proud of what you're doing every day. You know, some days are going to be good and some days aren't, you know, are going to be better. But, you know, I think remember the successes, you know,
Yeah.
when your partner, like you said, your wife said to you, thank you, you know, why do you, are you a person that can do this? That's a success.
That's a
Because
success,
that's
exactly,
her telling you, thank you for being there. So I think shouting, you know, like you
yeah.
said, be proud of it.
Yeah, no, be proud of it, and just own your life. I wouldn't say own your life. That's quite a deep thing to say, but
No,
you
but I
know,
know.
own, or just own and open up and you know, even speak to the postie in the morning. You know, just, or even, I don't even know if is there any milkman still. Do you still get milkmen
I
going
don't, not,
about,
not
or
around
is it
my
just
area. I don't know if up here.
Do you know, just speak to
Yeah,
the Amazon driver.
yeah. And because it could, honestly, could make that person's life different.
It
That's
could
the
just be
thing.
that tiny wee thing, just that one wee conversation could then make that person go back in the house and, oh, that boy, he actually listened and cared about what I was saying, and do you know, then the next again morning you have that same conversation, the next again morning you have another wee high or whatever. And then before you know it, you're in a full-blown daily conversation. It's something to look forward to. You're like, oh, he's coming today, I'll have a wee, do you know, it gets you out of your bed, it gets you going and things like that. And I feel that just being open's like, it's amazing. Like, once you are open and you tell people what's going on, and like, there'll be people hearing this that'll think, oh, that's exactly what I just dealt with that last week. Like, you know, my daughter had this, or my wife had this last week, and we've just found out that we've got this or we've got that, and you know, just listen to that. Just even if I could just help one person, you know,
Exactly.
one person understand what's going on in a guy's home life, back life thing. That's it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Paul.
That's all right.
It's been an absolute pleasure to learn about yourself and to learn about your family. Thank you so much for sharing, being brave today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.